like somebody from a big city, gang banging. And I'm telling you, the only way to get rid of that, now how you gonna get rid of that? Because that person is stuck on doing something that ain't even in their environment. Come on, man, I can't make this up. I can't make it up. So how you gonna get rid of that? Wishing on rainbows, that's what they do. That's what the whole community do, government and community. Wishing on rainbows, wishing on shooting stars. Instead of starting to pass out 20 years. I'm talking about 22 decades. Yeah, you missed 2 decades out of your life, boy. That's going to hurt. Let's just look at it this way. If you went in jail at 1970, I got to paint time that you've already seen, history you already seen, so you can see what people could miss. You send somebody in jail 1970, they missed all of 1970 and all of 1980 and come out in 1990? That's going to burn. You missed all of Michael Jackson. You missed all the 70s. Let's just do the 80s. Let's look at that too. You go in 1980. You miss all the 80s and the 90s. That's going to burn. You missed all the 80s and the 90s. I'm trying to show you how it works in real time. You can see, because you can't, a lot of people can't see what they would miss. You got to go back in time and show them and make an example in this situation. It's a good way of doing it. So you missed the 80s. You missed Michael Jackson. You missed Prince. You don't even know what that is. You missed all of that. You missed all of that. And then we got to the 90s, you missed all of that. Tupac, you missed every Biggie, you missed all of that. You get out in the year 2000. You missed the 80s and the 90s. That's going to burn. And it's some people that have. Somewhere. And they just now getting out. They did the 80s and the 90s. And they just now getting out. Now that burns. Why you see everything going on out there. All the Michael Jackson concerts that was out there, it was some people in prison. Couldn't see none of that. All you could do was do the Thriller dance all together in unison. That's all you could do. No disrespect to those who did that. But you get my point. That's all you could do. You missed all of it. Now that burns. You see what 2 decades? You see the examples I gave you of 2 decades? That burns. That burns. But 5 years... Okay, you do 5 years, 1980 to 1985. Michael Jackson's in full bloom. You ain't missed too much, not too much. Michael Jackson's still there. See what I'm saying? See how I showed you also with the short laws, how they really ain't missed nothing? Not really. But you give them 20 years. You give them 20 years. And that's any race, any color and creed. You give them 20 years for something senseless. I bet you they won't do it again. You got people that are repeated offenders. You know why? Because they ain't sit down long enough. They ain't sit down long enough. You sit down long enough, I bet you won't be back. Yeah, you won't. You'll be anywhere else but here. I tell you that. I'm trying to show you how this goes, man. According to human science, you're not going to change the people's minds. You're not going to do it. It's not. You can't beat them into submission. You can't beat gangbangers into submission. You can't. And only by 20 years. Other than that, man. You're wishing on rainbows and shooting stars. I'm telling you how it is. I'm telling you exactly how it is, man. And that's what's going to change you. You tell me, you tell somebody, you tell the streets and all this American community, it's 20 years for any kids being shot, any craziness. You tell them that. After that, it changes overnight. Overnight. I guarantee you. People can have 5, 6, 7, 8 guns. You have a president that released a message and said everybody getting 20 years minimum for senseless crimes where kids are being killed. I don't care what nobody say. Why shouldn't they? Why shouldn't they? 20 years. What you think the parents want? The parents of children, what do you think they want for the criminal? Now you got these people that just forgive the person. We ain't talking about that. That's miracles. That's miracles. What we're talking about is the average parents here. That's what we talking about. And if they are killed, you think what they want for the criminal? 5 years? Yeah, you want 20 years or better. Tripping. 20 years or better. Somebody killed somebody in your family. You want 20 years or better. Kids, 20 years or better. And this is going to form and be the true test of how much we say we value our family and community. Not enough to give them a harder time. Not enough to give these people a harder time for killing kids. And I'm going to tell you the truth. As far as everybody talking about, preserving Black lives and Black Lives Matter, I'm going to tell you out of all the Black lives, who matters the most? The children. Because at the end of the day, you already see the hypocrisy. Killing each other and everything. Then going around talking about Black Lives Matter. Well, it should matter enough for you not to be killing each other. You need to hear it just like that. It should matter enough for you to say something about all this killing. Yeah, you had the right term right there. You had the right little slogan. And you should have took it to where it deserves to be. Right up in the hood. Yeah, you need to go tell them that. First. Okay, police killings versus the killings in the hood. It's no contest, man. It's no contest. You know that. And you've been biased for too long, and you're sitting up still complaining about it. As long as you like that, ain't nothing gonna change. I'm telling you. I don't know. It don't take a rocket scientist to see this. Guys, it doesn't. Okay, the most killing is going on in the hood. Period. In all American culture. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to assume this. Right? You don't have to be a brain surgeon. You don't have to do work on brains, okay? All you need to do is have a conscience. Have a conscience. That's the first thing. Be non-animal and have a conscience. Be non-animalistic, non-beast. No one's a dog. No one's actually a dog in real life, okay? Be human and see where the killing is at. That's real. And we can be biased or we can keep it 100. It's up to, I'm keeping it 100. And then it got so bad now, like I said, the kids are being killed. And still, and you're still being biased, but then going running downtown in your city talking about Black Lives Matter. Do you think everybody is stupid? You don't think that the people could see that black people are out here talking about an isolated killing of one person, usually grown, but we can't see that you killing babies? As a community, you got to take the good and the bad as a community, right? You got to. You can't just take the good. You got to take the bad as well. And you got to do something about the bad of your community. And that's where we have the dilemma. No one really doing nothing. No one really saying nothing. But yet, everybody hooping and hollering when somebody gets shot by the police. And I mean, it's just do it with both sides. Hoop and holler when kids are killed in the neighborhoods. That's what I'm trying to say. Hoop and holler on both sides. That's real. Because see, here's the problem. Everyone wants to say, and I mean, I'm black enough to say something, but people want to say, well, that's our issues. Well, as long as you're here on American soil, I'm gonna tell you what's an intelligent person gonna tell you. It's an American issue, and you're gonna be faced with that soon, and you're gonna realize where you at because for some reason you think this is your land, this is America, and it does not belong to us. It belongs to white Americans. Dominantly. Let's keep it 100. Things are changing, but dominantly, this country is in the hands of white America. And you think they go, and if I can draw this opinion as a black American, you don't think they thinking the same thing? You don't think they have the brains to see your hypocrisy? That you just fooling them. You ain't fooling them. Not by a long shot. Not intelligent people. Not educated people. When they can clearly see that it's more killing on your side. And Hun is saying, we want justice. Why ain't you that wild when the kids are being killed? That part, bruh. That's all I'm saying. Nothing more, nothing less. And you should want someone to tell you this. And you should want it to change. I don't understand. Anybody want it not to change? So how's it going to change? First, by addressing it as an issue. I have to break things down. Because people they want change, but the first thing you got to see is that it's a problem. That's what you first got to see. And if you don't treat it as a problem, it's not going to be solved as a problem. Say that again. If you don't treat it as a problem and address it as a problem, it's not going to be solved. It's not going to be solved as a problem because you never put it in that context. So how can it be solved? You just, like I said, with all these other issues, people are wishing on rainbows and shooting stars, saying stop the killing, but it ain't gonna happen until you give tough love. Tough love is gonna change this. Just you do it with your kids, but you can't do it with them. It is your problem when you complaining about one side. You got the whole community complaining about it and say, well, it ain't our problem. Well, then don't address nothing then. Don't address racism, don't address the killing, don't address the police killing, don't address none of that when you can't address the obvious elephant in the room, which is black on black crime. If you can't address that obvious elephant in the room, then don't address nothing. That's common sense, man. Am I right or wrong? And right matters. That's what matters. Not black, not white, not any color, not any creed. What's right matters the most. And that's how I feel. It's the right matters more than anything because what we do in this country, particularly, especially here in America, everything is so divided that people get biased. Even though they know it's the truth, you can't get through to them because they're too biased. And that's black people, that's white people. So how you get through with biased people? Hear me good. How do you get through with biased people that are biased to their community? How do you get through with the truth and what's right? And that just cuts it all clear, makes it all clear. Okay, right matters. Okay? Right cuts between race, black and white, all of this foolishness. What's right and really right, and right is the fullness and entirety of something, of information, not half truths and whole lies. We ain't talking about that. We talking about all things, realizing all components and satellites and coming to a accurate, sound-minded conclusion. And you can only be accurate with all the information. So if somebody was out of town or out of this country or alien came here and they seen Black Lives Matter, they would think that, oh my God, the white cops are just killing innocent black people. And that's the baddest issue here. Oh, we have to change this today. But you also got to show them the hood. You also got to show them that part. And the aliens see that. Oh, wow. Every day? Oh, kids are being killed? But why aren't they saying nothing about that? That's the first thing alien gonna ask you. And it's because everybody in this country is biased towards their own people. And that's why nothing is being done. But what cuts through that is right. So now we give it 20 years. I don't care how much you claim Black Lives Matter or whatever. We give it 20 years to gangbangers that's killing these kids, bottom line. Because right matters. That's what matters. And you can't sit here and tell me in soundness of mind that you think 5 years is sound of mind as a charge for someone that has killed people that had no chance to live, a human that had no chance to live. Life is gone and forfeited. Gone and forfeited. Can't get it back, can't get that same individual back. You can never bring them back. They would never be the same. And even if people have more kids, it's never going to be that same kid that was killed. Never going to be that kid. So you have people screaming over here, talking about Black Lives Matter. All lives matter as we know as human beings. That's a common sense thing. And the emphasis is important. The emphasis is important, right? I agree with that. But the emphasis is important also where the biggest problem with Black Lives Matter is at. So if Black Lives Matter, you need to go see what's the biggest problem. On a day-to-day basis, not monthly basis when you have cop killings maybe monthly. We gotta prioritize things. And when you prioritize things and you see things for what they are, you realize, hey, there's a little more killing going on over here than over there. That's why I say everything in life is common sense. Everything. You want money? Go work. You want to lose weight? Work out. You want to gain weight? Eat more protein. But when we get to these issues, we don't use common sense. Most people don't. Because you see more killing over here. Don't take a rocket scientist. When you see more killing over here than just isolated police shootings, anybody can see that. So why isn't it being addressed on the same intense level? The same passionate level for a life in children at times. You can count, you don't really see cops really shooting babies. I can show you, we see it all the time in the hood. That part. And am I being biased? That's real reality. That's so big of a reality that it needs to be addressed. So whether someone's biased or not is so big of an issue, how can you not talk about it, in other words? Keep it 100, man. Whether somebody's biased or not, they hate you or not, it's so big of an issue. Yeah. Hey, most Americans feel this way. We don't want that stuff at our doorstep. We don't want the possibility of my kids laying in a room and being shot through the walls and stuff. Hey, if you're smart, you start thinking about you and yours. You start thinking about you and yours. And the first thing you're going to think about, okay, I don't want my child shot. So what I'm going to do? I'm going to speak up for what is right. What is really going on in the accurate interpretation without any bias. And that's the only way it's going to change. If you keep going on, beating around the bush, ring around the rosy, and you know that in your heart of hearts, the biggest problem is all this senseless gangbanging killing, then you are lying to yourself. Like we say, you are becoming fraudulent. You are. It's a form of fraudulence. Because all these singers, entertainers, I don't want to pick out any certain ones. I'm not going to do that. But they not really saying nothing, and they on top. They got influence. They can say what I'm saying, and it changes everything. Why you don't think it happened? And you got the poor man. He got to say everything. He got to bear the whole burden of this whole situation because you got these influential people that don't even say nothing. They don't even be saying nothing, and they will have the most effect. So who has to bear the burden? The poor man, because he's not biased towards money. He's not biased towards America. In other words, America has not pleased him to the point where he will be pacified about the truths that are here. He is the most honest person. He or she, the poor person, they're gonna be the most honest. Somebody got money with America, hey, life is good. I'm not really trying to talk about no problems. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, especially people that put money in my pockets. Why I'm gonna step on their toes? That's what I'm saying. So now it's the burden is always put on the poor people to tell the truth. When you can have a famous person say the same video and do the same video, and white, black, everybody, it changes everybody. Everybody's like, oh, I didn't even see it like that. I say, oh, you halfway listening. Somebody famous said, oh, you didn't see it like that. They're genius. That's how it is. They go post something and text something. They go post something and text something and say, ooh, prayer is good. And then prayer is good, and we all need to pray. Right? I pray. I believe in praying greatly. But they'll say it versus I say it, and then the world explodes. That's the power of influence. That's the power of influence. People take your words more seriously when you have influence. That's the truth. Let a famous person do a same video like I did, talking about the gang banging in the hood versus isolated police shootings monthly versus gang banging daily. But see, it doesn't work in their favor. And the only reason it doesn't work in their favor because they have not allowed what's right to be at the top of their list as what they present, reflect, and speak on. If we would have been like this a long time ago, that right matters, we would have been further along as a whole community. So here's the thing. If no one else can address you outside your community, then we're calling people to address themselves. Use your people to address your people. But it's an issue that no one can deny. You should be glad somebody thinking about solutions. That's real. Especially about your children, you should be glad about that. You should be glad that somebody's thinking about that. But yet it's selective hearing when you start talking about this. Oh, just waiting for them to mess up and waiting for them to say something out of pocket. Instead of really listening and taking the information for what it is. I didn't make this up. I didn't make the problem up. It's going on. I'm not using any trickery of words or any of that. Did I use any trickery of words? Did I say anything to really deceive you? Have I said anything to deceive you? I'm telling you right how it is. And the only way it's going to change from how it is tougher laws. Bottom line, man. Man, you give somebody 20 years, you tell the streets, the whole country, the whole street community that anybody do any crazy crimes, and kids get killed and innocent people just get killed, elderly people and all of that. You tell them that 20 years, man, this whole country will change overnight. The whole country. You see how simple it is? But I guarantee you can't get it passed though. It should be strong armed and done. But it's too many people that are going to think that this is going to be used in the hands of the wrong cops or the wrong people, when it really is no room to assume that when we understand the technicality. If in this law the technicality is used of children being killed, elderly people being killed, innocent people being killed from a shooting. That's a technicality. If that's the only thing that we can use this in, there's no way it can't be manipulated that way. You don't have to make it more detailed than that. Children was killed, innocent people were killed. It was and also a senseless killing. When that happens, 20 years. Bottom line. Bottom line. It ain't about race. It's about action. You just happen to be whatever color you are. We're not talking about your color. We're talking about something that we have nothing to do with, which is your actions. You're killing somebody. They ain't got nothing to do with being racist. Bottom line. When it's based on the technicality of kids being killed and elderly people and innocent people in senseless killings. When you give people 20 years, you tell everybody's 20 years based off that, and that's all that's all gonna be considered, all looked at on that, and that's the only grounds that you get into 20 years. So in other words, if you got manslaughter, you got manslaughter. You got second degree, all those still stand. But if you killed, if in a shooting that you did, killed innocent people to a good degree, but particularly kids, and it's because it was sprays of bullets going through this place and that place, when that killer could have just waited for whoever it was, and it just sprayed and kids were killed. That's going to be the foundational technicality. If that's the situation, 20 years automatically. If it was a senseless killing, like for example, the black guy pushing the Asian woman into the train, if that's the case, I'm sorry. You getting 20 years. Elderly people that's not even involved in your community, physically speaking, they're on they're already on Social Security, so they're not even involved in your community, and they're being shot down. People that done paid their dues for this country, working all their life, and get to the end of their life and shot by you. 20 years. Those three dynamics right there is just 20 years. And see, no one's stereotyped. No one's now. If you know that's your community, you got to get it together, because that's what we want anyway. We want you to. The whole point is to get it together, right? But you can't say in your heart of hearts somebody stereotyping you or being against you. You can't have that enemy complex. Everybody's your enemy. Everything they say is something wrong. Let's keep it 100. An issue is an issue. An issue is an issue. At the end of the day, like I always say, that's what people care about. An issue is an issue. Killings are killings. Killings are killings. Okay? And it's no way to sugarcoat that. It's no way, we're too weak on each other. This community is too weak. You know what I'm saying? In other countries, man, that would be the case already. Man, if this was happening in the Middle East, gang banging and killing like that, man, they would already through them 20, maybe life or death sentence. If kids were killed, you might get the death sentence. Yeah. Ain't caring nothing about who you are. Ain't thinking nothing about the color of your skin. Ain't thinking about none of that. Only looking at the fact that you did something and you took a kid's life and erased that kid's life. This is how the community can get clean. It's not gonna, I'm telling you, if you base it on fully grown adults, how they gonna change? Fully grown people, stuck in their ways. It ain't only the old people stuck in their ways. It's the young adults stuck in their ways too. Yeah. It ain't only old people. We only use that for old people. Oh yeah, they stuck in their ways. Man, half of these people stuck in their ways. That's why we have problems. You stuck in a certain way of doing something and thinking a certain way. You stuck in your ways. So that being said, how are you gonna change that? Somebody stuck in their ways. The only way you're gonna change that, man, snap people out of it, is you give them 20 years for doing the things that they're doing. Oh, that'll snap you out of it. You get about 20 years or better, and that's the minimum.